Today, make sure you label your notebook, and you're going to be doing percents part 1 and 2 today. First, the activator percents. Remember, percents are per 100. So, take 30 seconds and change these three fractions into its equivalent out of 100. Pause the tape. Okay, the first one has a denominator of 25. That is the total. We want the whole to be out of 100. 25 times 4 is 100. 11 times 4 is 44. The bottom one, 5 times 20 is 100. 3 times 20 is 60. That is 60 out of 100. In this case, we have to go 200 divided by 2, which means 40 divided by 2 is 20. In your notebook, if you do not know your factor pairs, to get to 100, I will quickly spit them out, and you should copy them down. 1 and 100, 2 times 50, 4 times 25, 5 times 20, and 10 times 10. Those factor pairs will get you to 100 and will make your life a lot easier. The notes for today, go ahead and copy this Frayer model down. Percent, the definition is a rate per 100. The part to whole is part over 100, and that gives you the percent. A common mistake is people think any fraction becomes a percent. So like 2 out of 50 is 2%. It's not. Percents must be out of 100. Copy this into your note. So finding the percent when it isn't out of 100, that's really the key for today, is making an equivalent ratio out of 100. So when we look here, there's 3 shaded out of 10, but 3 out of 10 is not 3%. It's not. Over here, 4 out of 10, that is not 4%. It's much more than 4%. Because look, here's half of it. Almost half of it is shaded in. That's nowhere near 4%. 4% is a tiny amount. In order to determine a percent, you must make it out of 100. So 10 times 10 is 100, 4 times 10 is 40, which means that 40% of this is shaded. That's a much more reasonable estimate. If half of this thing is here, that's 50%. Nearly all of that is shaded, 40%. The one on the left, 3 out of 10. Again, not 3%. Percents are a rate per 100. The total is 100. 10 times 10 is 100. 3 times 10 is 30. 30 out of 100 is the same as 30%. 30%. Okay, here are 2 problems. Go ahead and find these answers now. Pause the tape. All right, the first problem says, what percent of the boxes shown above are shaded green? First thing let's do, count the green boxes. 1, 2, 3 of the boxes are green out of a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is real similar to the last problem. 3 out of 10, again, is not 3%. Percents are a rate per 100, which means we have to figure out how to make the denominator out of 100. Simple enough, multiply by 10, which means the numerator has to be multiplied by 10. 30 out of 100 is equivalent to 30%. Again, a big difference between 30% and 3%. Over here, what percentage of the figures shown below are triangles? Well, there's 1, 2, 3 triangles. In total, there's 5 figures here. Okay. To find the percentage of them that are triangles, again, we must have the denominator or whole out of 100. 5 times 20 will give us 100. 3 times 20 will give us 60. 60 out of 100 is equivalent to 60%, which means 60% of those are triangles. The last one's pretty simple. What percent of the circle is shaded? Well, there are 3 shaded portions out of 4. That is a benchmark fraction that many of you probably automatically know is 75%, or 75 out of 100. If you didn't know that, well, 4 times 25 is 100. 3 times 25 is 75. And that's part 1 of percents. Solving percent word problems. Go ahead, pause the tape, give it a try. In a closet, a student had 5 yellow shirts, 4 blue shirts, and 11 green shirts. What percent of the shirts were blue? So we want to know what out of 100 were blue. Well, a couple things we can think about. Well, percent means out of 100, so eventually I'm going to have to get something to be out of 100. I know that's my total. I'm looking for blue shirts. Well, when I go to my information, 5 yellow, 4 blue, 11 green. Well, there we go. I got 4 blue. Now my total. Well, when I think about this, 5 yellow shirts and 4 blue shirts, that's 9 shirts. 11 green shirts and my 9 other shirts is a total of 20 shirts. So I have my fraction 4 out of 20, and I need that 20 to go out of 100. Well, if you think back to the factor pairs in the beginning of the lesson, 20 times 5 is 100, which means I multiply my numerator by 5. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 out of 100 is 20%. The bottom example here, go ahead and pause the tape and try it on your own. I will not be going over this. I'll just be telling you the answer. Okay, when you think about this, hopefully you set up an equivalent fraction or equivalent ratio here, and we're able to determine that if they strike out 15 times out of a total of 20 at-bats, that means 75% of the time they struck out. That's a lot. Okay, part 2 of the percents is really calculator heavy. So I'm going to talk you through the first one, and you should be ready to use your calculator. It says John is going shopping and has brought $42.50 with him. If John decides to spend 10% of his money on candy, how much did John spend? So this is not asking you to find a percent. It's telling you he has this much money, and what did he do with it? He spent 10% of that money. How do I find 10% of that? I multiply it by 10%. So literally on your calculator, you will type in 42.50. 42.50 times 10. And to find the percent button, right above the left parentheses in blue, you see a little percent sign. So you hit second and then that percent button, and your calculator should read 42.50 times 10 with the percent sign. You hit enter, and it tells you that he spent $4.25, which is 10% of his money on candy. Kind of outrageous to spend 10% of your money on candy. Number 2 and 3. Angela wants to go on a class field trip to the Whitewater Center. Her mom told her she needs to pay 20% of the cost. She's paying 20% of the cost. What's the cost? Oh, it's right here, $50.50. So $50.50, and Angela is responsible for paying 20% of that. You type it right in your calculator. If you forget how to do this, rewind the tape about 20 seconds and listen to example 1 because I will not be going over it again. The bottom one, 12.3 grams, that's what the balloon had. It decreased by 3%. Okay, we could find 3% of that. It's going to be a pretty small number because we're only finding 3% of around 12. So that's going to be pretty small. Okay, before you get to the work, pause the tape. Here are 3 word problems. Go ahead and answer these in your notebook now. First answer, 20% tip is $6.48. A 3% growth is 0.435. You will often see a 0 in front of that to represent 0 holes. And 15% of the money saved for the dance is $3. The bit.ly for today's work is bit.ly/ISR, all capitals, 3/2019. If you need any help, go back and rewatch the videos. Don't be lazy.